Hello, this is Group 4's Leadership and Group Dynamics case presentation, Unhappy Holidays, Office Party Gone Wrong by Allison Turner, Dave Granger, Kevin Perkins, and Mike Bramwell. The following situation occurred in a small office of a nonprofit organization which provides mental health services in the community. This office was initially led by Kristen, the clinical director, and Jason, the administrative director. Kristen worked to make the office environment feel homey for staff and would often engage with staff on a more personal level related to their lives outside of the office. While Kristen and Jason maintained a close friendship for the early years as co-directors, this friendship dissolved and Jason left the agency. As part of bonding with staff, Kristen would host an annual Christmas party in her home, and this year was no different. Jason had a party the same evening, and much of the staff chose to go to Jason's party rather than Kristen's. When Kristen discovered this information, a perceived slight, she hosted a staff meeting expressing the hurt she felt and that there would be changes in the office going forward. She proceeded to remove all of the homey touches from the office. She posted multiple signs around the office, as well as expressing verbal reminders to not cross personal boundaries with staff. And many of her interactions with staff going forward involved expressing her hurt feelings and negative speak about the situation rather than the necessary clinical supervision and instruction. Pete, the regional director, recognized that staff was struggling to perform and ultimately encouraged Kristen to leave the agency as she was no longer emotionally able to be an effective manager. What followed was a revolving door of directors, and all staff managed by Kristen eventually left the agency as well. This appears to be a clear example of a lack of established supportive emotional culture, as well as Kristen's lack of employing emotional intelligence principles. To discuss this further, I will pass this off to Kevin.
Thanks, Allie, for kicking us off and giving us an overview of the case. Before we start dissecting the case, I'm going to give some leadership concepts to lay the foundation for Mike to elaborate on specifically what went wrong in the case. As we recall from week 1, leadership can be defined as the repetitive acts of arousing, engaging, and satisfying the values and needs of followers in an arena of conflict, competition, or achievement that results in the followers taking action towards a mutually shared vision. We also learned that effective leaders have high emotional intelligence, or EI, which can be broken into 5 different components. Self-awareness, which is one's knowledge of his or her strengths, weaknesses, emotions, values, and goals, and how those impact others. Self-regulation, one's ability to control or redirect disruptive emotions or impulses. Motivation, one's drive to achieve solely for the sake of achievement. Empathy, an individual's consideration of others' feelings. And lastly, social skill, the ability to manage relationships that move people in desired directions. In the experience Allie discussed, both Kristen and Pete were in leadership positions at the workplace. However, both individuals had shortcomings in these EI components, specifically self-regulation, motivation, and social skill, which ultimately resulted in each director being unable to motivate and drive the team towards success. From our readings a couple modules back, we explored how organizations can motivate employees. We learned that there are 4 underlying drives of motivation: the drive to acquire, the drive to bond, the drive to comprehend, and the drive to defend. Additionally, we learned that organizations, as well as managers, have levers and tactics they can use to fulfill the 4 drives that motivate employees. In this holiday party case, Kristen, perhaps with self-fulfilling intentions, had attempted to create a culture that fulfills employees' drive to bond, but ultimately she failed. Had she and Pete made efforts to fulfill the other 3 drives, perhaps they would have been more successful. Lastly, we've learned that there are several different factors employees consider when deciding whether or not to trust a manager. In the Harvard Business Review article, The Decision to Trust, Robert Hurley outlines the 7 situational factors shown on the slide. Particularly relevant to this case are the number of similarities, aligned interests, and level of communication. Kristen and Pete could have improved their level of communication with the team and should have made better effort to emphasize the team's shared values and to explain to the team how meeting goals benefits everyone. I'll now turn it over to Mike to dive deeper into what went wrong.
Thanks, Kevin, and now I will discuss where did we go wrong. We as a group decided that it was 3 root causes of why Kristen did not flourish as a leader. Each will be discussed in its entirety and followed by possible solutions. 1. Kristen focused on building friends over building trust. Building trust requires more than one-way communication. It takes two-way communication or engagement. Leaders who want to create organizational trust should start by developing employee abilities to trust through empowerment. Then leaders should engage in constant dialogue where they demonstrate empathy and true concern for each member of the team. Leaders should also foster a sense of community where employees can align their personal interests with organizational goals. Never once did we discuss Kristen aligning the group's personal interest with the organizational goals. Instead, we discussed Kristen trying to be their friend or confidant instead of their leader. 2. Kristen never discussed the team and made it her top priority. Now this might seem weird, but if Kristen discussed these following 3 things, I think she would have went a further way as becoming a true leader. 1. Discussing the team goals for the year. 2. Individual career aspirations that each team member might have, but they just never felt comfortable telling Kristen. And 3. What truly motivated the team. We never knew what the team really wanted or what made the team tick. Instead, we knew what Kristen wanted and what Kristen thought a team would want from a leader. And number 3, Kristen's post-Christmas party actions. Removing all the home touches in the office truly showed that it was just a show. Kristen never really truly cared for the team, and once the team decided to go to that next Christmas party, Kristen flipped and turned into no better than any teammate that was disgusted or did not agree with their manager. And number 2, failure to become a multiplier and then thus turning into a diminisher. Some leaders try to come across as the smartest person in the room. They'll end up stifling ideas of their team, and such leaders are known as diminishers, not multipliers. A multiplier is someone that multiplies influence, multiplies empowerment, and becomes a servant leader versus a leader that would diminish what the team really needs for someone to inspire them on any goal that comes before them. And last but not least, Kristen's failure to become self-aware and to self-manage the situations. The 4 domains of emotional intelligence tells you that the very first thing that a manager should become is self-aware. Self-awareness is essential for all 3 domains according to our leadership books. The second is self-management. If you don't know what's going on inside yourself, you'll be a very poor manager of others. It's all about having the ability to control your emotions so they don't block your ability and to think well and to create and to innovate, to stay fixed on a goal and or to drive an achieving goal. Those who are self-management managers will also flourish when they have to do so for their team. Next, I would like to discuss the 2 innovative solutions we thought would make Kristen a better leader. As you can tell, from the left side is the leadership flywheel. It all starts with learning from your team. Learning your team's aspirations, goals, and motivations then projects you into what other leaders call a servant leader. Someone that comes with tools, direction, attitudes that will promote better trust of the team on a day-to-day basis, which then results in producing better quality work and which ultimately turns into what we consider a great leader. Follow the leadership flywheel and you too can become a great leader. To the right, we have the 5 layers of leadership. Each are impacted in a different variation. To the left, there is the blue pyramid, which starts with trust, then turns into less conflict, which then promotes better commitment amongst the team, which now makes the leader keep their team accountable for any goals, any problems that teammates might have, because they've already built trust and commitment amongst each other, which should produce top results for the team and the organization. To the right is what we would not like to see from a leader, which has an absence of trust amongst their teammates, which then results in more conflict, which also has a lack of commitment amongst each teammate. Everyone's looking out for themselves and not the team, which then holds no accountability. No one is ever told that they did not meet the goal that they were supposed to meet, which ultimately produces bad results. Now it's your turn. You as a class will be issued the 3 problem statements. 1. Did Pete fail Kristen as a leader? If so, how? And how could we approach this situation differently? Number 2. Did Kristen create a toxic work environment? Or was she trying to operate within a hostile work environment that was created by her peers? Remember, there was a rival that created another Christmas party that Kristen was not invited to, but her team attended. Could others in the organization have addressed this problem before it became a bigger problem? If so, in what ways? Number 3, did Kristen overreact to the Christmas incident? What other ways could she have reacted to the situation better and established boundaries and ultimately maintain the trust? How could she have aligned the team's trust? These are 3 scenarios that we would like you guys to discuss on the discussion board for next week.